Hi and welcome to Momda's Life Handmade. Today I'm going to share with you 20 of my very creative DIYs that I've done this year. I have taken this whiskey bottle case, which is actually a cardboard case with two tin ends. The lid and the base is tin and the rest is cardboard. One can even use the chips, Pringles kind of boxes also. So I'm going to paint the lids first white and then the same color as that of this paper. And one can paint over it, but will need too many coats, so I'm using this paper. I have already cut it to the size and using some glue, I'm going to glue it all over this. First, let me paint this. Now I want to make a spout because I want to make this look like a picture. So for the spout, first I drew a triangle which is 2 inches wide and 2 inches tall. So I made this triangle, then I made another small triangle on the top so that it is like a diamond shape now. Then I have left some lips on the side where it will attach onto this the way it's done with hardwares, and I've taken it such that I can fold it. So I have 2 layers so that it becomes stiff enough to work on the surface. Now I'm going to glue these 2 layers together and then cut this pattern out. Now this is the pattern. Here is the diamond in the center and a lip, V-shaped lip. So I'm going to make it folded along this edge. So this will give me a lip. So here was the joint of this paper. This side I'll place the handle, and on the opposite side of this will be the lip. Now it's always trial and error, so I think I need to cut this overhanging things, and this is how the lip would come. Even this portion needs to be flat only, so I'll cut it. Yes, just like this. So this will give me the spout for the picture. I'll glue it here. I'm using PVA glue, which is also equivalent to wood glue. So it's nice and strong. Now for making the handle of this picture, I took a similar paper again and folded it in and then again so that I get a stiff piece. Now this is a strong piece and can be rolled at the same time. I just roll the top portion more and I'll attach it like this to make the handle of this picture. Now for attaching, I took a small piece of the same colored paper, folded it once because I want 2 pieces, folded it again so that I can get the midline, and then I'll cut out a triangle with rounded edges. So these are 2 triangles with rounded edges. Now I'll just add some glue. I'll wait for this portion to dry before I put this one. So let this dry completely and then I'll do this side. Now for this bottom part, this top part is dry, so I bring it down and glue it here. Right in the midline. Therefore, making it at this point helps so that I know the midline very well. Also attach this triangular piece over it, which would secure it further. Now here is my picture ready. The basic structure is ready. Even on the lid I added a single coat of white paint and also added the same paper on the top. The sides I'm going to use some paint over this. So now, since the basic structure is done, just sit back and enjoy the process of decorating it, making it more authentic with the beautiful music. love this pitcher, jug, can, This has turned out really beautiful. I love the rustic look, the rusted edges, the nails, the handle, the snout, the color. It has a character of its own. I even like the little label, and it looks gorgeous. It looks just beautiful, fabulous to me. And I am going to enjoy this in my decor. Healing garden, that's the label I had put. My son suggested you could have even tried writing secret garden. I think maybe next time, sometime, certainly. Now for the Pottery Barn inspired candles from trash, let me introduce you to the trash of the day. So this is an empty medicated powder bottle. I don't know what this was, some kind of roll. I just found it, and because it's very sturdy, I kept it with me. It might come for some craft work. So this, whatever it is, an empty plastic bottle. So I'm using these three main as the structure for the candles. And I'm going to use some candles. I don't have enough battery operated candles at the moment, therefore I'm showing you with this. But for the sake of burning, I would prefer that one uses battery operated candles for these kind of DIY. So 3 candles, 3 candles. Then for making the base over which the candles can set in, one can use thermocol or foam board for this. Next is the smartest thing. So people I've seen, they paint, but it doesn't come that authentic look. For that really authentic look, I went into the internet and searched for some birch bark print, and I changed the tone to similar tones, and so I have these 3 birch bark patterns, designs, and I got them printed on an A4 size paper, each one of them. They look beautiful together. So these are the ones. So I'm going to be using knife for cutting this, scissors, glue, Mod Podge, yes, some cardstock paper to give that finished look on the top of the candles. So starting with this bottle and my thermocol board, so I'm going to place it and cut out a base, a circle which would fit it perfectly. So I'm going to cut this out with a sharp knife. Now here is this cutout, and my candles are here. Now you see this candle is smaller than this base. So I'm going to mark it again and very carefully cut it out as well, so that the candle can snugly fit in. This part is little tricky because it's a very thin rim. For the wider one, it would be easier. Now inside this rim, my candle goes in very easily, so I'll keep it here. This is just to fill up the edges of the candle. Now I've taken a white cardstock paper, and again I'm going to draw 2 circles for this. I'll cut 2 of this like this. So this will form the base over. I'll glue this ring over this so that it's more strong now. Now this one to cover it so that it looks neat. For that, first I need to make the cutout of the candle over this so that I know how much area to cut it out so that the candle can stay up. So I'm marking at the back side of the cardstock paper so that the front is neat, and I'll cut this circle out. Now I've got a circular rim. So I've got 3 things. One circular cardstock paper for the base, this thermocol rim to fill in the space around the candle, and this rim to top on top of all this so that everything looks really neat when the candle goes in. So I'll glue all these 3 together first. Now once all these are glued together. It becomes one piece. I'll glue this on top of this. Now I have glued the whole thing together. Now the only thing that I did was I removed the cap because it was kind of bulging out from this level, so I just removed it so that everything can come in one single level. So next I'm taking this printout and I'm going to measure how much do I need, so that I'll mark it here. This is the total circumference, so I'll mark it here and cut around here, and I'll cut flush to the top margin. Always double check before you cut so that you don't have to repent, and always cut extra. You can trim it, but if you cut less then you will have no other option but to cut another one. So you see, this is how the candle turns out to be, and because of the cardstock paper on the top which lies flush with the candle as well as the edge of the candle, here the side cylindrical vertical side, it will look beautiful finished together. So I'm just going to use some Mod Podge and glue this whole thing onto the surface of this trash and make it a beautiful candle. So here is my first beautifully birch bark covered candle ready. Now for the next candle, this is a smaller one and the base is such that it fits the candle perfectly, but because of the cap there is a difference in the size of the base and that of the top. So in such a case, I have a solution is to take a cardstock paper and just fold it and wrap it all around so that it becomes flush with the whole thing becomes a straight cylinder. So I'm going to measure and then fold it. And just tape the two edges so that I have a straight cylinder to work with. Now I just taped the folded cardstock paper over this so that it becomes a straight edge, and I have raised it such that there is a hollow here and my candle can snugly fit inside this. So now I'll just take a similar paper in the bark print and cover it again like this. Now I added some glue on the top edge and just folded the top free edge of the bark print onto my cardstock paper so that it looks neater. I also added some glue to the base and covered it so it becomes like a one candle now. So two of the set ready. Similarly, I'll do this one. Quick steps for this hollow piece. So I took a cardstock paper and traced out a circle, the outer circumference of it, so that it can sit neatly over the top of this frame. And then I took my candle and have sketched the outer circle of it, and I'm going to cut the circle out so that it can fit inside this. I've also cut out a circle thermocol piece which can fit inside this, so the inner circumference of this one. I'll also cut another cardstock paper and stick it at the back side of this so that it forms the base on which this candle will sit in. So this is the thermocol base with the hollow cutout where this candle can fit in, and I have also added a cardstock paper at the base so that the candle doesn't fall down. And now here is the cardstock paper with the hole so that the candle is on the top, and I'll glue this together, and so that will give me a groove and the edge which will rest over this. Now I've just added glue on the rim of this hollow piece, and this groove that is formed because the cardstock paper is slightly bigger than this one, it will snugly sit on this. So I'm going to glue it and fit it inside like a cap. So this becomes a solid candle now. Now I'm going to take this printed paper in birchwood bark style and cover it like all the other two. So here I have my 3 birchwood style candles ready, and let's decorate the centerpiece with this. So here is a little centerpiece, a little decor using my Pottery Barn inspired birchwood bark candles. I'm starting with this humble mason jar or jam jar. I have cleaned it with soap water solution, removed the label, and then I took some rubbing alcohol in a piece of rag and cleaned the surface, for there might be some grease left behind. Just a clean surface is so important to start any painting or decoupage on it. Next I took some white acrylic paint on a piece of sponge and I just dabbed it over the surface of this mason jar on the bottom portion, say about 1/3 of the bottom portion, and near the rim of the jar, that is on the top portion only. These are just the curved surfaces where the decoupage print will be difficult to attach, but they serve as a beautiful background. And the white snow in the bottom, the white color will look like snow in the bottom, will also hide the little light that I'll place inside the jar to turn it into a luminary. So it's functional as well as beautiful. The sponge gives that speckled look, which is perfect for the snowy look here. Once this is done, let it dry before starting the decoupage. Next I went on internet and I searched for decoupage printables, and I found this beautiful snows with reindeer print, and these were so cute and perfect for the season, perfect for today's decor and DIY. So I got this printed out in an A4 size paper, and now I'm going to cut it with fine pair of scissors because I need to cut it really close to this image. Not destroy my image, but cut very close to it. I don't want any of the background paper because I'm leaving my jar blank in the center where the print will be occupying majority of the space. So I was very careful with my scissors and cut this print out. With the cutout ready, next step everybody knows, I took some glue and with a brush I spread it evenly at the back side of the print till the very corner, covering all the surface. Then I positioned it over my glass jar and glued it. I started pressing it from inside out so that there is no wrinkle, there is no bubble under the print, and I made sure that the print is beautifully attached to the jar. Now we have this humble jar turned into a beautiful jar with a simple decoupage. Let's take it to another level. For the 3D effect, for the elevation, I'm using air dry clay. This is homemade, therefore the color is bright yellow, but you can take the store-bought air dry clay and use it. Now I added some glue on the surface of this print, that is on the caps and on the mushrooms. These are the two areas I'm going to focus, which I will give some elevation, which should stand out a little ahead of the rest of the print. So I took the air dry clay and I applied it over the place where the cap will be and took a little tail for the cap as well. For the mushrooms also, I added air dry clay here just within the margin of the print. The print acted as a guide where all to apply the clay. Now I took separate lumps of clay for the cap of the mushroom and then for the stump of the mushroom, and with the help of the scapula I really smoothed the surface of the clay and also gave it the shape, the specific margins and the boundaries neatly so that one can feel the 3D effect very well. At the same time, the cap is not just simple, there is a furry edge, therefore I added extra clay on the edge of the cap to form that furry edge. Finally, I added a little ball of clay at the tip of the cap to give that bell or pom-pom look here. Now this air dry clay needs to dry, after which I'm going to paint it. Now once the clay is dry, it's time to paint it. I'm using acrylic colors for all this painting thing. Now I started with painting the cap red and then I added white on the furry edge of the cap. I later on even added some golden color to the ball or the tip of the cap. And for the mushrooms, I added white paint and made it slightly creamish in color and then added some more dimensions by adding some more darker shades to it. Now here I must stress, because it's a 3D decoupage, it's so important to bring out the 3D effect. So therefore I'm adding more shadings with the help of little black color. It's mixing with the red to give that cap a little elevated look, especially on the edges. I even do this with the mushrooms, giving it a little more enhancement, little more dimension. And then I even added the polka dots on the mushrooms. They look really cute. For the cap, after I painted the furry edge of the cap, I decided to add the same design that was there on the cloak on the cap. So I made those heart-like shapes and then a dotted line on top of it. Now to match everything together, now the cap and the mushrooms become so highlighted, become so elevated that the rest of the picture looks dull now. Now to give it that life to this picture, I even added little diluted red paint over the cloak of my snow. So that will make it unified and look good together. Everything will look as if it belongs to it. Then I decided to put the same dots that are there on the dress on that of the cap. So I mixed a little black and red and made the dots on the cap, and then I even added these dots on the dress as well, again to enhance the whole thing. So this way I enhanced the whole picture. I touched even the reindeer very slightly, a little bit, to give it a little more dimension to the thing. And finally I added some gold paint onto the furry pom-pom or ball or bell on the tip of the cap, and I think this looks beautiful. Next I took some tinkering copper bells and a string which is in gold and red, and I stringed my bells into this string for a very small distance and then tied a simple knot here. Then I took this string and I tied it just near the neck of this jar, or where the threading is there at the margin of the white and the clear portion. Then I tied another knot and a very simple bow here. It really looks good. I placed this at the side of the image so that it doesn't make the image look bad or hamper the image or disturb the image in any way. I even added little bit of greenery here to complete the look, and this looks gorgeous. I'm just going to add a little candlelight here, a battery operated candle in this, and this will just liven up, make any space so happy I'm so glad I made this. This looks just so adorable. The cap with the 3D effect, the mushrooms with the dots, the reindeer, everything is looking so alive. When I was taking a morning walk, I saw a pelmet or wooden carnice lying on the roadside of an abandoned house. I brought it home. Now it has a lower back side and a high front side. It is 6 inches wide by 36 inches in length. After a good cleaning, I gave it a coat of paint. The first coat of paint was blotchy, so I gave a second coat of paint. This is good for use now and decoration. I wanted to paint some stripes. Now one can use painter's tape for crisp lines, but I just drew the lines with ruler and pencil and filled it freehand with brush and little acrylic color in dull greenish grey. I made this color by combining little green and very little black with lots of white. I made broad strips guarded by 1-inch thick strips in the center and 1-inch strips in each side of this front or the higher side of this box or pelmet. On the back side, I painted pencil thick stripes at regular intervals. Next, I went through the internet and looked for images of French labels that can be used for household items. And there are n number of them on net, and I picked some and got them printed on this A4 size paper. So here I have the main label that I'll put on this portion, which is higher in height in the center. And if you notice, this is a reverse. Now this print was available reversed, but you can always reverse them in your photo editor. So I will use this label here in the center. Then I got some stamps. Again, I reversed them in my photo editor and it added them to this page, and I'm going to tear them and use them on the back side, which is a narrow strip with lines that you saw. And then I have this beautiful black and white roses, 2 of them for 2 corners. So I'm going to use them on 2 corners. Now my workplace is little small, so I'm not able to show you the corners. So here will come 1 rose, and similarly on the other side the other rose. So the first thing that I'll do is I will have to tear these things. I need this to be reverse printed because it's a little different. I'm going to transfer this image onto this, not just paste it, transfer the image onto this. So I'm going to wet these edges and then tear it. Because the clear, if I have those clear edges of what you get when cutting with scissors, it will not merge well with the wood. So I'll have to tear this image out. Here is where I want this print to go, and this is in the reverse side, so I will paste it like this. So I have just made a crease to know where the center is, and I'm going to apply Mod Podge over this place liberally and with a brush so that it's evenly here. And then paste it with the printed side down. So I just eyeball the center and pasting it here. Make sure that it's pasted all over it and there are no creases. Now you would have seen me in other decoupage projects that I also apply a coat of Mod Podge over this, but because the print is down and I want to take this layer of white paper away, therefore I'm not applying Mod Podge over, but I made sure that my paper is well glued to the surface and there are no air bubbles. I'm pushing any possible air bubble in, and I will let this dry overnight maybe, so that this paper sticks absolutely well with this wood. Now this is well dried and now will be the time to do some magic. I'm taking some water in a brush and I'm applying it over this print, spreading it all over. You can use brush or a rag, or even take some water in your finger and apply it. Apply it evenly all over it. Let the paper wet very well, layer to layer, and once you feel the whole paper is wet, it will be time to take it off. You just rub it gently and you will see the paper is started to come out. You see here? If you feel it's dry, add more water. This is like magic. My kids also did on the other side and they really enjoyed it. It's very satisfying. The only thing you need to take care is that you're gentle and you don't peel off the writings. Have patience and it will work out beautifully. Wasn't this absolute magic? And now you realize why I had inverted, that is horizontally inversed my label before printing it out, so that when I do this kind of technique of decoupage, the label comes out straight now. Now one can read it straight properly over this. Now finally I thought that these patterns were looking little drab, so I added some colors to them. Simple colors, soft colors, light oranges, pinks and greens into the pattern and become prominent. Then I also added a coat of Mod Podge over it when the paint dried. Similarly on all this decoupage, after everything was dry, I just took a brush and added a layer of Mod Podge over it, just to seal everything down and to keep everything safe. Now one can even add a spray of varnish over it, and that completes this piece. The florals add to the decor item, and I have added some cooking and baking items here and organized them here. I love this whole look in French farmhouse vibes with all whites and labels and stripes. I'm a pretty organizer to work with in the kitchen. The second look is for the dining space. I can place daily dishes or cutlery organized on my sideboard, ready to use for mealtime. Useful and beautiful, decorative and functional, my favorite combination. To begin this DIY, I just magnified the image of this book to get a better understanding. Then I went onto internet and searched in the images for some handwritten, calligraphic, handwritten letters, especially the letters with a little seal or a stamp on the top. Then I even looked for some images of horses, some lacquer stamp images, and also found free fonts site from where I downloaded some written matter that I can put on the spine as the name of the book. So I wrote this letter, this question, the leader. So I found some free fonts, and as I browsed through these, I found some old calligraphic fonts, decorative fonts that I liked and would go very well with this. So once I got all these images, I went to a photo editor. In my photo editor tool that I use a Gym program for this because I use Ubuntu, and in this you can use Photoshop if you're using Microsoft, and basically any photo editor, and you can place these images. Then I adjusted the colors, magnification to the perfect size that I want, and then printed them out. Now here I have a little tip. You can customize this whole thing and give these books the color of your choice, which goes well with your decor, and have it your way, in your style. That's what it should be. Anyways, to go ahead, once I got these printouts, I cut them out and made the jacket for the book. Now each and every book that is there in my home is well loved by all members of our family. We all have different tastes, but we all love books. So we don't have a single book in the house which I would like to destroy. Now I have seen in a lot of YouTube videos where people get books that are not loved and paint the outside using chalk paint in the color that they want. That is one option. But if you love your book and don't want to destroy it just for decor's sake, this is not going to be a permanent decor piece in my home. This will stay till I get bored of it or till somebody wants to read one of the books. So therefore I'll cover my books, just cover them. I'll make a jacket for them. I say a jacket because a book cover will have a spine, it will have a front. I'm showing this hand for front because you'll see when I cover, there would be a front, there would be a back, and there would be the two sleeves which would, hold the covers together so that the jacket is formed. I went around the house with a ruler in my hand looking for books, and here is my stack of books. These are 5 books, and the criteria for choosing this was I went with this ruler and I checked that they were 8.5 to 9 inches, all of them. The height was like 8.5 to 9 inches tall, and the thickness of the book ranged from 1 to 1.5 inches. So once I got this, I stacked them together, and this will form the perfect set of books for decoration. This is how my printouts came out. This is going to be the front page of my first book. These are going to be 2 different spines, and this is another 2 sets of spines. So 4 books, and one is going to be plain with a bump, and this is going to be the front cover, and similarly I also get a similar one for the back cover of the last book. Now for creating the jacket of my first book, I have 3 papers here. A normal A4 size paper for the back side because it will be hidden and won't be seen, the front side paper, and the paper for the spine. So this is the printout that I have decided for the first book, and I'll separate it out. I measured the width of the printed paper, and this is about 4 inches. So I'm going to trim this white edge which is not got printed and utilize the whole thing because I studied the image on the net very well, and I saw that the book spine was lying over the front page quite a lot. Again, having studied the design very well, I decided to stick this piece with the front paper, leaving little margin here from the text just as in the image, and the stamp showing on the top. Just a little glue stick, again something from home. Now here is the jacket for my first book ready. The front, the spine, the back, and these pieces, the front and the back, are too wide, so they'll also fold in very well. So now I'll take my book and cover it just the way I do it for my kids' school books now, and have done it in the past for my books. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that the stamp should not get cut. So I'm going to slightly mark. So this is the spine portion. Now I will make a slit little ahead of the spine, just the way it's done for school books or covering any other books. Fold this piece in. Well, you can see I'm recycling this paper, a paper that came home, printed on one side. I'm using the white side of the other paper. I always recycle and a lot in my home, especially paper. This is my effort towards conserving our environment. Now I place it here, making sure that the front comes on the front, and then cover it. Make sure that it's really aligned well, and see, the stamp is intact. I just tucked in the edge into the sleeves and made a neat crease and then folded it in, so I don't have to use any glue or tape, and this way my book is very well protected and no harm comes to it. I can just take this cover off and use it again. So I'll go ahead and do all my other books. Now for the fifth book. This is 9.5 inches in height. I'm going to divide it by 5, so I will get 1.9 inches. So at every 1.9 inches there would be a bump or a rib or a line. So there are going to be 4 lines at 1.5 inches apart. I've made faint lines to mark where all I'll put. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now taking a thin strip of paper, I add glue to one end so that it doesn't open up. Taking anything thin, just curl up the whole thing. The width is approximately 1 inch, a little less than that. So I'm going to cut out 4 pieces, which is about a little less than 1 inches. align them in a straight line. These are the humps or the bumps. I'm going to take a tissue paper and tear it into thin strips and Mod Podge it over it so that it looks like one complete piece. The reason for using tissue paper is it's thin and it has this texture which would look nice over this. So using some Mod Podge, I'm going to Mod Podge this or decoupage it. I took some watercolor and I used this ochre color or mud color, and I'm going to tint it a bit. And I'm going to dilute this with little Mod Podge and just add it a little. Maybe add a little burnt sienna also. This is how the spine of this book looks like. Now that's the reason why I have 2 layers of decoupage, and in between the 2 layers I added the ochre and the brown color. Now it's all muted and looks like an old book. Now I'll make the jacket of this book, the front and the back side, and cover the book.